Hey, you're back with the old Get Out Deck guy and the new Get Out Deck guy, Damon Day. Hello, Damon.
Hey, Steve, how you doing?
I am doing absolutely fantastic. Uh,
Well, that's not
Today,
true.
why? Well, I'm getting over being sick.
Yeah, you're getting over being sick. As you had a coughing fit right before we went live.
Yeah, well, one of my life mottos is as long as I'm not on fire, I'm having a good day. So
That's right.
so
Whenever you're having a bad day, he goes, could be worse.
could be
Could
worse.
be on fire.
That's right. So I'll take a little cough any day. Apparently, bad strain of the flu is going around.
It is going around. My wife got it too.
Yeah. So not fun. Anyway, today we're going to talk about the cost of living. And, it just seems like everything is so expensive and you can't get ahead. Would you agree with that?
You know what I'm going to say, Steve?
What?
Maybe you don't, but
Rent is too damn high?
We got to bring back the rent is too damn high guy. That guy was 10 years he was just 10 years ahead of his time, bro.
He was.
Rent is too damn high.
But the funny thing is I've done a lot of script writing over the past week since I haven't been able to do much.
You have.
And it's amazing how there are a lot of things at play that lead to the increase in costs and prices and everything else that prevent people from getting ahead. I think one of the biggest underlying contributing factors has to be wage stagflation. Look at the amount that wages have increased since the mid 1970s, and adjusted for inflation, they've just been flat.
Yeah,
so,
and especially when you compare it to just put a chart and look at wage increases since the 1950s and then cost of goods, price increases. And you wonder why you can't get ahead.
We went from the 50s, and it's a big difference too. So I'm part of the baby boomer generation. So after World War II, there was a tremendous amount of productivity and focus on increasing, not wealth, but opportunity in the United States. So from the end of World War II, if you look at that graph, up until it was a steady upward slope of wages and GDP up until about the mid 70s. And then it just went boom and leveled out.
Yeah.
So something's happened, and nothing has happened in the 80s or 90s or early 2000s that have made things any better. So,
yeah, and if we haven't mentioned it, which I don't think we did, this is going to be kind of a Debbie Downer of a podcast for a lot of listeners. This is like the reality serum of, what we're facing right now. And it's not fun, and it's not going to change anytime soon. I don't believe.
I don't think so either. But yes, I agree with you on the Debbie Downer label. However, if we can put it into context, the big thing, I did a podcast recently all about the American dream. And the big thing now is not trying to rescue the past, but figure out how we can move forward. So people are complaining about the cost of things like eating out and food and all these things. First off, the cost of groceries historically has never gone down, and any expectation that it's going to go down are misguided. The only thing that might reduce grocery prices is smaller portion sizes. But
we call that shrinkflation.
Shrinkflation, absolutely right. But what's
the
interesting
box stays the same, but the stuff inside gets smaller.
Very true. I hate it when you open a bag of potato chips and it's just like at the bottom.
Yeah, I already ate them.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that's certainly changed over my lifetime has been, like, when we talk about the cost of groceries. Today we talk about how much it costs to eat out, how much delivery services add to the cost of your food, and how expensive that is all becoming. Yet when I think back, because I'm an old fart, we never went out to dinner. There was never pre-purchased, pre-processed food. All the meals were cooked at home. And if you go and look at the cost of buying food when it's prepared versus making it yourself, making it yourself, even with the cost of, meat and vegetables and everything else,
still expensive.
It's 25%. You could feed a family of 4 for a quarter of what it costs to eat out.
Yeah. Well, then you have to get into the argument of whether it's, healthy food too, because, bad food is cheaper. I mean, it just is.
Absolutely.
It's hard to get good, high quality food that is not extremely expensive compared to the low. Like I was just the other day, it's a new year, right, Steve? New me, new year. But gotta shed the unwanted pounds, join the gym, right? Doing all that thing for a couple of days. We'll see how it goes next week. But as part of that, I was on the way to take my daughter to softball practice last night and stopped by Tropical Smoothie Cafe, right? Like, let's get a Thai salad wrap, chicken salad wrap, and an acai smoothie. And that was fine, and it was really good. And it was $20. But
I know.
It was one meal, and it was good, high quality. Well, at least I think, it was good. Had some chicken in it, whatever. But as I'm walking out of there, I'm thinking of, you know what? You can go to McDonald's and they got that $5 meal where you're getting a soda and a McDouble or whatever the heck they call it, and some chicken nuggets and fries. All horrible, horrible food choices.
Right.
But it's only $5 compared to $20. And that's the difference when even when you're out and you're trying to make good, healthy food choices, the crap food is usually a lot less expensive. And that's a big problem that we have too, is it's easier to eat a meal and cheaper to eat a meal with bad food. And then you start getting into the argument of healthcare costs and people taking care of themselves. And you get into that whole thing that we're not going to get into today.
But there are differences in today's environment that lead people to eating out more. For example, when I was growing up, you went to ball practice, it was down at the end of the neighborhood.
Oh, wasn't 30 minutes away?
There was no driving across town. There was not, any big expenses for extracurricular activities.
Well, the other thing is many households have two parents working. Yeah. Whereas back in your day, that was unusual.
You could get a mortgage on one income.
Yeah, but if you had one spouse home, it made more sense to go ahead and have meals at home, because that was what that one spouse was doing, is like, okay, I'm going to go to the grocery shopping, I'm going to make the meals. Well, if you've got two spouses working 9 to 5, that clearly leads to, we're just going to grab a pizza on the way home or whatever, because they don't feel like, coming home and then cooking. They haven't been there all day. They just want to come home and relax.
I completely agree with that. But I think if we're going to make our money stretch even further, the solutions are going to be inconvenient. I mean,
they're very inconvenient.
There have been times in my life where we've had to prepare slow cooked meals that we could cook during the week and do that on the weekend. Yeah. Or it all depends where you want your priorities to be. And in a busier life where everything seems so overwhelming, it seems that we crave more entertainment and relaxation over just doing the things that are going to help us financially.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned, back in your day when, it was uncommon to have both parents working and you could afford a mortgage and a car payment and things like that on one income.
Yeah.
Now we've come to, it's very difficult for most people to afford those things on two incomes. I mean, that's how much the disparity has grown between wages and prices.
Right. Well, that's the problem with the wage stagflation. You look at the cost of new vehicles these days. And so I'm finishing my podcast right now on new home prices. In the United States right now, the average new home is 5 times the annual income of people. That seems, unbelievable how people are going to afford new homes. Yet in Australia, it's 8 times, and in Canada, it's 10 times. So the problems that we're experiencing here are not related just to the United States. They're global. These are global changes.
So everything sucks. What do we do about it? I guess let's pivot.
Well, like when it comes to home ownership, it is unlikely that new first-time home buyers are going to be able to afford a new home. And there's a lot to that. So we have to adjust our expectations about what it is that we ultimately want. Do we want?
This goes into your American Dream research that you've done.
I mean,
is that still the American Dream?
Buying and having a home and all that's having a hoe. Having a home.
I almost chucked my coffee all over my computer. It's the new American Dream, folks.
Gotta have one hoe.
Can't afford it. All right.
Okay. So let's talk about buying the American home. In Phoenix alone, I don't think that you will dispute this, but in the last couple years, 28% of new and existing home purchases have been by investors and private equity firms.
Oh yeah, Phoenix is hot.
Turning them into rentals.
Yeah.
Right. So it is just financially impossible for somebody to buy a new home that's just starting out because of that. So ultimately, the new American Dream, or what we're going to do moving forward, needs to be more about a reevaluation of what we want to accomplish in life, rather than a disappointment that we can't accomplish what has been done in the past. Yeah. So, for example, renting. If you want to chase a dream that is attainable, you can either just eat beans and rice and do that for whatever number of years to try to save a down payment that is going to get more and more and more expensive. Or you can find a way that you can rent, save money slower towards a down payment, and enjoy something of your life more. Right? I think the pursuit of happiness has to be the number one goal, rather than the pursuit of more crap.
Yeah. And, of course, it's going to be different for everybody. For some people, it makes sense for them to, get into a house if they somehow can pull it together and make it work and make the numbers work. But for a lot of people, that's not going to be obtainable. At least, just getting started out in life, it's not obtainable right away. Like I've told the story before. When I was in college, my brother and I got together and we bought a brand new house in Southern California. And if I remember, I think we each put down $5,000. So it was a $10,000 down payment. Nice, brand new. It's just a tract home, but it was brand new in a golf course community in Southern California. It was $180,000 for this house. And we got together, we each put $5,000 down, and our mortgage was, 7% interest, right? Which is, oh my God, 7%. That's so, no, 7% was a good rate. That was what they were going for. That was in the late 90s. And our mortgage was like $1,350, which we split between the two of us while we were going to school. How many college kids, and we were both working essentially part-time at my dad's steel business while we were going to school. So we weren't making a lot of money. But how many college kids doing a part-time job can afford to go, hey, let's partner up and go buy a house in Southern California right now? Zero.
When we bought our first house, we had the opportunity to utilize the FHA mortgage program, which was 3% down, very lenient on the credit, and the mortgage was assumable, so that when you wanted to go sell your house, you could just transfer the mortgage to whoever bought it. Those days are gone, and it's very unlikely that the government, in this climate of wanting to reduce expenses and reduce regulation, is going to step in and create any sort of opportunity like that for new buyers now.
Yeah, one of these days I should pop on Zillow and go check out that house. I bet you that house is probably, according to Zillow, $750,000 right now. That we bought for $180,000 in 1999.
Well, home prices have been going up dramatically. It's all supply and demand. So you've got the largest home builders in the United States, D.R. Horton and Lennar, who are building more homes and communities now to sell to private equity and investors. In bulk. And then you also have the same builders. So D.R. Horton in 2005, had a record year of building homes, and their profit that year was $1.47 billion. In 2023, they built half as many homes, and their profit was $4.7 billion. So they're building less homes and getting 3 times the profit. So what does the individual person have any control over home builders holding back supply and slowing down construction to raise prices?
So what do you say to the argument, the counterpoint, where somebody would say, well, there's not security in renting, which is, to a certain extent true, where they would argue that if they could somehow figure out a way to get in onto a house, whether it's from some outside help with a down payment or whatever, or they do happen to be in a situation where both spouses are working and they have enough income, or they're in a situation where if you can get into the house, the mortgage is not that much different than what the prevailing rent would be for something similar. What would you say to that person if they could get into the house and then say, well, I want to try to get in on the wave at least, so I'm not left behind even further if I can get in?
Well, it all depends what your priority is. I'm lucky that I did purchase a house, and I do have a house, and I wouldn't want to try to buy a new one today. However, renting is not a total negative. For example, in the last 2 years, from my house here, I've spent over $30,000 in stormwater management, heating and air conditioning units, maintenance that I would not have had if I was renting.
Yeah.
And so if you're renting, you can walk away at some point. Your circumstances can change. The flip side is, rents can go up. Now, I am not saying that renting is necessarily a perfect solution. I am saying it is a realistic solution.
Yeah. But you're not saying don't even try to buy a house. You're saying if you're in a situation where it makes sense.
Well, it depends on what makes sense means, because in your years and my years of seeing people that have financial problems, I mean, you can think of a lot of examples where people did get in, buy a house, ended up with expenses, other things, and just ran up the credit because they were having problems with making ends meet.
Yeah.
So along with, as you were saying, dual income families, husband and wife both working. Now on top of that, you've got daycare, car expenses.
That's a big one for a lot of my clients, and I've had even a couple recently where the daycare has been more than the mortgage.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
it's the same way here.
And then we start having conversations like, well, what if one spouse didn't go to work, and it sometimes it can pencil out. And then I had one recently where it almost penciled out where it made more sense for one of the spouses to stay home. And that spouse that made the lower end was like, I prefer to work. I'm like, I've got 3 kids. I get it. There are days like that sometimes where I'd rather just go to a job.
Well, 37 years ago when our daughter was born and we had to have daycare, Pam's entire salary essentially went to paying for daycare, but we had the benefit of healthcare benefits, from her job.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but I mean, unless you have some in-laws or something, or, the grandma that can come and help. I mean, if you're in a situation where you're both having to work, which a lot of families are in because the prices are just so damn high, you can't do it on one, what I would call just a normal job anymore.
Right.
You got to have both spouses working to be able to afford the house and afford the car and afford to do the things that we do, like, the things that we really enjoy, like eat. Eating has become a luxury these days.
Well, you look at the number of people that, in your side hustle thing that you're doing with delivering things, products,
people,
food and people things.
Yeah.
I am constantly amazed at the stories that you tell me about how much people spend for an impulse delivery.
Oh, it's crazy. It is crazy. What did I make the other day? It was, I made like $40 to deliver. I had to go to Safeway, which was 2.5 miles from my house, grab a cigarette lighter,
Yeah.
but it was a 2-pack.
No.
And I got paid like $38. And I went to do the delivery. Remember this story? And Uber had screwed it up.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, where the address was, the delivery was like 1.5 miles from the store. So I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I'll go 2.5 miles to Safeway, grab the lighter, drop it a mile, make $38. Well, long story short, we figure out that Uber had screwed up and her address was the same, but it was in California, not Phoenix, where I was at. So I was actually about 600 miles away from her. But Uber, so I called support and they're like, oh yeah, basically they screwed up. I still got paid the $38. And in that situation, that customer wasn't paying that money.
Right.
Uber was paying that money, but it was just like you said, an impulse purchase. Somebody like, I need a lighter right now. Like it wasn't like grocery shopping. It was just go to the store and get me a lighter.
Well,
and
you delivered a TV 1 mile for $25 or $30.
Yeah, it was like as a Walmart delivery like a couple weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
$25, and Walmart's 2 miles from my house, and the delivery was 1 mile. Oh, that was New Year's Eve. I was getting ready to go out and drive for New Year's Eve, right?
Yeah.
And before I left the house, I got this ping on Walmart, and it was like someone needed a 40-inch TV. I got paid $25. I mean, I almost could have walked the damn TV to their house, like from the Walmart. And I got there, and there was plenty of cars in the driveway, and they were young guys.
Yeah.
They just didn't want to get in one of those cars and go the mile to Walmart. So I don't know what they paid, but I know their tip was $20. And so I don't know if the Walmart has a service fee. I don't know. But I mean, they probably paid $20 or $25
for the TV
on top of this, TV, just because they I don't know, didn't want to go get it. And it wasn't like a big TV. It was a 40-inch TV. It was not like they couldn't fit it in their car. But yeah, people are crazy.
Well, speaking of crazy, I mean, look at the prices if you want to go to like Five Guys and get a burger.
Oh, Five Guys is ridiculous. I went one time last year. I took my daughter. We hadn't been in a while, and I kind of like Five Guys.
Yeah.
And we went there, and I'm looking at these prices, and I'm like, what the hell? We ended up splitting a burger. Like, we just got a burger and fries, and we just split it because they were like double deckers or whatever. It was after a softball tournament, and neither one of us were that hungry. So we just like, let's split one. And then we got two milkshakes, burger, fries, split it. It was over $30 damn. I was like, what the hell?
Well, I mean, that's my point that, sometimes it's better just going to Costco or Sam's Club and getting a box of frozen hamburger patties and just going home and making them yourself.
Yeah. So, people are listening to this podcast and they're like, yeah, we know it sucks. I mean, people don't need us to tell them that crap is expensive. I mean, they live it every day. So what are some practical things that we can tell them? I mean, at the end of the day, I think you're right. This stuff's not all of a sudden we're not going to wake up. It's not like, okay, Trump's going to, come in January and the prices are just going to drop on everything. It's not, this stuff, prices don't go down. Once they go up, they tend to stay up. Right.
Right.
So, other than a few things here and there, I don't think, housing prices I don't think houses are going to have a dramatic correction. Like you said, it's supply and demand. There's not a gluttony of houses on the market for sale that nobody is buying right now. So that's not going to go down. Food's not going to go down. Gas, can fluctuate a little bit, but for the most part, these prices are kind of here to stay. I mean, this is just inflation. And like Steve said, wage stagflation. I mean, This is just our new reality. So there's two things you can do. You can spend less or you can make more. I mean, it's never changed. Even before Dave Ramsey was born, these have been the two principles that you have two levers you can pull essentially. Make more, more coming in or less going out, right? And you have to, like I think you mentioned this earlier, we're going to have to make some adjustments on our expectations.
Yes.
And you either figure out ways to make more money as a family so you can still continue the lifestyle that you want to have or you have had in the past, or you're going to have to cut that lifestyle back. And a big way to cut on the expenses, obviously, is right now is a horrible time to be carrying debt. If you can get out of if you're spending $500,000 a month on debt, that's $1,000 a month you don't have to pay for the increased cost of food. So that's
why people should be contacting you at damonday.com, DAMONDAY.com, because if they can strategically deleverage.
That's the word of 2024 that Steve and I learned. Deleveraging.
Deleverage their debt and find a way to live within their income. That's the best shot you've got moving forward right now.
Yeah, that's the term that corporations are using for bankruptcy.
Bankruptcy.
It sounds better on the investment sheet. It's like, no, we are deleveraging this year. we're getting rid of this debt. We're going to deleverage, and we're going to come back stronger.
Well, one easy way for people to increase their income is through, the Penny Stupid channel on YouTube, where you're presenting all of these opportunities for people to earn more doing gig stuff. However, even that is changing, right? You've got to invest more time to work extra hours. And as we have talked about recently, it seems like the opportunities to earn have been getting smaller each year.
Well, it's what I'm seeing in the gig stuff. And for those of you that don't know, Steve and I do another channel, YouTube channel called Penny Stupid, where we do different side hustles and things. And for that channel, I've been, driving Uber and Lyft and DoorDash and Instacart and things like that. And the crazy thing about it is I enjoy the shit out of that. I don't know why. I think it's the challenge, because my goal is always, okay, if I'm going to go out and drive, I want to make $40 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's that challenge of, and because it's always changing, like you mentioned, these companies are always trying to figure out ways to gain profitability, which is their goal. Unfortunately, that profitability tends to come at the expense of the workers. Like, how can we pay these chumps less?
Right.
But at the end of the day, you can't go into it as a victim. You are essentially an independent contractor. You do not work for DoorDash. You don't work for Uber. You don't work for Lyft. So there are strategies that you can employ. And I think that's the trick. And that's the part that I kind of enjoy with doing this is saying, oh, you're going to make this change? All right, hold my beer. I'm still going to make $40 an hour by doing this or doing that. But even though the opportunities are I don't want to say shrinking, but it's harder and harder to make as much as you could make a year ago or 2 years ago. The opportunity is still there. And what I love about it is it's so easy. It's not hard. It's, especially if you're looking at your budget and you're like, man, an extra $500 a month, an extra $1,000 a month, that could really, get us to where we need to go. I can make an extra $500 a week with my eyes closed. That's $2,000 a month. If you're in a situation where, $1,500 to $2,000 a month would really help you right now, and you feel like you're working, there's nothing more you can do at your job or whatever. These are opportunities that you can explore, and there's no startup cost. You just go do it, right? And that's all you got to do. You got to download the app, and then you got to go figure it out. That's it. And somebody is saying hello.
Oh, Pam just walked in with food.
Oh, well, don't check your bank statement on that.
Thank you. It's breadsticks from Olive Garden.
Oh, that probably bounced. It's like, how did you know?
It's think back to all the people that you have talked about doing a side hustle or a gig. The number of people who have actually followed through and done it would be, I think the number is going to be 0, isn't it?
I'm disappointed. The whole reason we started that Penny Stupid channel a couple of years ago was because I wanted to, in my consulting business, I kind of, my big thing is, hey, I've been through it. I've done it. I've made financial mistakes. I've fought my way through it over the years. That's why I'm, in my opinion, very good at what I do, because I've gone through it myself. So I know exactly what you're going through. I've gone through the bankruptcy and negotiating debt and fixing credit, all that stuff. I've done it over the years. And so, when I was advising people about, hey, if we can just get an extra $500, we can get an extra 1,000, whatever, I would always say things like, have you tried Uber, maybe Lyft or DoorDash? Right. But I had no firsthand experience with any of these things.
Yeah, you just jumped in.
But I'm saying before that, but I would get a lot of, I don't want to do that. I don't want people in my car. I don't want this. Or I really had no basis. And I think there was one client I had, and this was before the Penny Stupid channel. and he was an older gentleman, and he had a job, and then he'd get home from his job, and then he would go do an Uber. This was like 5 or 6 years ago. And I remember him saying, he usually makes about $1,500 to $2,000 a month, part-time, doing Uber. Mm-hmm. And I was just blown away by that. Again, I had no concept of what you could make or couldn't make. I don't know. It's just a delivery driver. What do delivery drivers make? And I thought that was like, oh my gosh, an extra $2,000 a month. And you start thinking about how many of my clients could really get out of this debt a lot faster if they had an extra $2,000 a month. And so that's when I started talking, hey, you should, have a client that's doing Uber, you should try this. But I get so much pushback. I finally said, you know what? Let me try this stuff. Let me figure it out.
Yeah.
And then at least I could be a better advisor for clients. If, I don't want people in my car. I don't want to do this. And that first month with Lyft back in 2022, remember, Steve, I made close to $6,000. Now granted, I was doing it in the evenings, but I'm a go big or go home kind of guy.
Right,
so
exactly.
It is my part-time, but it would have been most people's full-time. But it was $6,000 that I made that month. And it just absolutely blew my mind that I could borrow my wife's car because my Ram Dually diesel wasn't really right for that particular application. But I could borrow my wife's car, go down, turn on my phone, and just follow the phone, go pick up this person, go do this, go do that. And at the end of the month, have $6,000. Now, those days are long gone. You're not going to sign up for Lyft and just follow the app and come home with $6,000. So don't think that's going to happen. But, being able to go out and make $500, $1,000 a week part-time, you can absolutely still do that. And going back to Steve's point, I talk to people about it all the time now. And I still don't think I've had some people try it, but
maybe once or twice.
It's just excuses,
Right.
And it's fine. If it's not your jam, it's not your jam.
Yeah. Find something else though.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be rideshare or, grocery delivery or whatever. But, I got to tell you, watch the channel. There's ways you can fit this into your lifestyle to where you're not just sitting out in parking lots, where you're getting paid to go out and do your own errands. The way I do it, it's like I'm going out anyway. I'll grab a job or something like that. And my wife, go pick up groceries at Walmart. Okay. Turn on my app. Oh, look, here's a $40 delivery while I'm already out. Okay, I'll grab that. Right.
Well, my favorite example is a guy in Fort Lauderdale who was a big corporate executive and commuted every day down into Fort Lauderdale. And even he just turned the app on the way into work and just made money going to work and coming home. He wasn't doing it as, full-blown side hustle. He was just making his commute pay him.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll sometimes play a game too. I'm like, can you go pick up pizza or whatever for the family, right? Well, there's $1,000. But what I'll flip on my apps and I'm like, I'll go get the pizza. And then I have this little game let's see if I can make as much as the pizza cost.
Yeah.
When I'm out, see if I can get one or two deliveries real quick on the way to get the pizza, maybe one or two on the way back. And now I don't always, accomplish that goal, but sometimes I might get half the dang pizzas paid for just by dropping somebody else's pizza off on my way back home or whatever.
Yeah. Well, all right. On that note, we should probably wind it up and invite people again to visit the Penny Stupid channel on YouTube and also to contact you if they have any concerns about their finances or they even want to discuss maybe this side hustle thing a little bit more. Damon Day, DAMONDAY.com.
Yeah, and check out the Penny Stupid channel. I mean, we're happy to help. If you have questions on it, you're thinking about doing it, drop a couple comments on some of the videos. I'm happy to help and give advice on, on Lyft and Uber and DoorDash and Instacart and all that stuff. But yeah, I think, for me, the biggest takeaway, I know we talked about a lot of different things and we were kind of all over the place on this podcast, but the biggest thing is this pressure that you're feeling with these increased prices is not going to go away.
No.
So you need to figure out what you can do to kind of reset and say, okay, moving forward, we're going to have to make some adjustments as a family or an individual if you don't have a family. How can we make more money and or how can we cut our expenses? And if you are carrying debt, that's one of the easiest things that you can cut out because cutting out the debt payments is not like cutting out a car payment, right? You cut out a car payment, you don't have the car. Like, okay, let's get rid of that car, get rid of that car payment. You cut out the debt payment, it doesn't change your lifestyle. It just increases what you have available, right? You're not losing anything except a noose around your neck. So that is where the debt is the first place you should start. If you're shelling out $500,000, $2,000 a month for debt, and you look at, I'm going to go try this side hustle and work 10 hours a week or 15 hours a week to pay this $2,000 a month of debt. If you just got rid of the debt, you wouldn't even have to do the side hustle, or better yet, get rid of the debt and then still do the side hustle. So now you can really accelerate retirement savings or regular savings or investment or down payment savings for a house.
Right.
If you want to do that, right? Rather than just, taking that $2,000 a month and just paying on this debt for the next 5 years. We can maybe wipe it out with a bankruptcy. We can settle the debt. We can negotiate the interest rates. There's all kinds of things that we can do rather than just, and I'm not saying paying it off in full the Dave Ramsey way is wrong. That might be right for you, but you got to run the numbers and you got to look at Steve's famous thing is the opportunity costs of, what is that debt repayment going to cost you in your retirement years, right?
All right, man. I see ya.
Peace.